Hello everybody, this is a video about measures of central tendency. I'll be your host for this video, Mr. Shirley, the man with a face that truly inspires learning. Now, please print off the notes that I included with this in Google Classroom because sections of them you will be filling in as we go through this lesson, and it will be a whole lot easier for you to just fill them in instead of writing out the whole thing. Okay, I will try and go through this fairly quickly because this should be a review for everybody. Alright, so our learning goal, no, you don't need to write it down, but I would love it if you put a date on this note that you're writing because it would be great for helping you to keep things in order. So our learning goal is to consider different methods for finding a central position in a set of information. Okay, that's why it's called measures of central tendency. Now, most of you probably don't remember the terms measures of central tendency. You remember mean, median, mode, and range. Okay, most of you again probably remember what they are, so we'll quickly go through the definitions and a few things you do with them and whatnot. So, measure of central tendency, it's a value that describes the center or middle of a data set, okay, and they have their times when they're more useful or less useful. So mean is the average of the values, and you find that by adding all of your values and dividing by how many of them there are. So if there were 5 numbers, you would add up all 5, that's your sum, and then divide by 5. That's how many of them there are. Okay? Median is the middle value in an ordered set, so you have to put the numbers in order or in some other way. Make sure you are finding what would be the middle value if they were in order. And typically they're ordered from smallest to largest. That part doesn't really matter because the middle is the middle no matter what order you have them in, from smallest to largest or largest to smallest. Okay, mode is the value that occurs most often, and in the case of mode there can actually be no mode. All right, if there is no number that occurs most often, there can also be more than one of them if there's several numbers that occur most often. One thing I ask as you're doing these questions, if there is no mode, meaning no number that occurs most often, please do not write the number 0. 0 is a number. Please write no mode or none or something like that. Write a word. If you write 0, that's a number and technically your answer is not correct unless 0 is in fact the number that occurs most often, which usually doesn't happen in a data set. All right, range is the spread of values in the data set, so largest minus smallest. Okay, and this can give you an indication of just how close the numbers are together. Okay, so small range means small difference between largest and smallest. Okay, so we'll go through a couple of quick examples here. Remember, this is a video, so please feel free to pause it or go back and listen to my wonderful voice again if you need to hear something twice or if I'm going a little too quickly. Okay, so the daily high temperature for the past 2 weeks in Orlando, that would be nice, is all of these numbers right there, and we need to find mean, median, mode, and range. All right, so mean, we're adding up all those things, and there are 14 of them, so you can trust me on here, but please double check my math. If you add all those up, you get 1,236, and then you divide by 14 because there are 14 numbers there, and your mean should be 88.3. Okay, round to a reasonable number. All right, to find median, you typically again need to put your numbers in order. So I've done it in order from largest to smallest. Okay, and then you want to find the middle one. Now, sometimes this is easy because there is only a single number that happens to actually be in the middle. Okay, if it doesn't work out that way, there are a couple of ways that you'll have to go through to possibly find that information, what the middle one is. So because there are 14 numbers, it means we won't have one that's exactly in the middle. Okay, so we're going to have 7 numbers below, 7 above, because it's 14, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 means our median is right there. Okay, so when it's between 2 numbers, so again we've got 7 above, 7 below, we need to find the middle number there. Okay, and you can do this by finding the average of both numbers if you wish. So 88 plus sorry how messy this is, plus 89 divided by 2. That will work to find your median. Or you can simply note what the numbers are, and using your just your reasoning, your logic, your knowledge of the numbers, just figure out what the middle number is between those two. So in our case, that's 88.5, 88.5. Okay, next, the mode is the number that occurs the most often again. So we have 3 88s, we have 3 90s, so our mode is 88 and 90. Or I guess I should say our modes are 88 and 90. And range is 10. You simply take largest number, that's 92, minus the smallest number, which is 82. Okay, so you just get a range of 10. All right, there's a little bit more I want you to fill in on one of these sheets. Let me just scroll down to find it. Now, I forgot to put boxes here, but I would like you to record down this information right here. So an outlier, and this is going to come up in some of the other things that we do in this unit as well, an outlier is a data value that is much larger or smaller than the others. Okay, so one frequent example I give to students when we do this is if we were taking all the data of the ages of people in the class, and then I included myself, my own age would be an outlier compared to the ages of everybody else in the class. Okay, so it's just a single piece of data, or sometimes more than one, that's apart from the others. Okay, now when you're choosing the best center, or the best measure of the center, there are times when some are more appropriate and most useful. And as you grow, as you get into high school and university and watching the media and that kind of thing, it's very important to watch which one of these are actually used in media reports and graphs and things like that, because they don't always use the best one. They don't always use something that's representative. So keep that in mind. Okay, so mean is most useful when there are no outliers, okay, because outliers will make an average a little bit skewed. It's like if you were finding a mean of average wages and you included Bill Gates in there with a bunch of other average people, Bill Gates's wage would skew that average, okay? Now, median is best when there are outliers. Meaning there's one or more that are just kind of outside somewhere, and if the middle of the data has no big gaps in it. Okay, so a big gap in the middle could mess with that a little bit. And mode is useful when the data has many repeated values. Okay, now it doesn't mean you can't use the other ones in other cases. So if there is an outlier, you could still find the mean, but it's just maybe a little less useful in that case. All right, so the question below says determine which measure of central tendency best represents the data. Okay, so you need to justify your selection and find a measure of the center. Now, the best way, again, because two of these are dependent on whether or not there is an outlier, one of the best ways to double check that and to be sure we've found it is to put the numbers in order. Okay, so putting these numbers in order right here, you get, well, that right there. Okay, and it may not look too much like it, but 26 really is a bit of an outlier. Okay, it's way smaller than the other ones. It's 12 apart, while the rest are all much closer together than that. 38 is a little, but it's not nearly as far away as 26. Okay, so when there is an outlier, and there's also, there are no modes in this, every number appears exactly once. So mode we wouldn't use. So that means median is what we're going to use. Because there are outliers, we will use that. Okay, so we want to use median here. Yay, so you can put a check in the box or whatever you'd like to do. And that will be what you'd want to do with that. Okay, so then you need to actually find the median. So that's just me writing out the logic that I just said. So median is the best choice because 26 is an outlier. Now again, because there are 8 of these numbers, now one thing to note too, 26 is an outlier, but you do still need to include it when you're calculating the median. You don't just get to chop it off or something and ignore it. Okay, you do still need to put that in there. Because there are 8 numbers, it means our median is going to be right in the middle here between, the right pen here. So our median is going to be right in there, right between 48 and 49, which means that our median is going to be 48.5. Okay, so for these questions like this, you only really need to find one of those measures of central tendency. Just figure out which one is the best one as you're going. Okay, now I'm just going to check that there wasn't anything else on one of these pages that I wanted to go over. Nope, I don't think so. So that's all for that. Please let me know if you have any questions. Again, most of this should be review for most of you, except possibly this part where you're deciding on what works best and which one to pick. So please contact me if you have any questions and enjoy the homework.